this sceptered isle, this earth of majesty, this seat of Mars, this other Eden, demi-paradise, this fortress built by nature for herself against infection and the hand of war, this happy breed of men, this little world, this precious stone set in the silver sea, which serves it in the office of a wall, or as a moat defensive to a house against the envy of less happier lands. This blessed plot, this earth, this realm, this England, this land of such dear souls, this dear, dear land.
So begins probably the most famous speech from Richard II, a play about the fall of the Plantagenet king. These words are spoken by the dying John of Gaunt, and it's a single, incredibly long sentence with no main verb and no clearly defined subject. It's ritual, incantatory. This is Gaunt as a prophet. When Gaunt goes on to observe that England is this seat of Mars, he reminds us that kings have only held onto the kingdom because of their warlike nature, Mars being the Roman god of war, of course. The speech is going to leap via the classical god of war from earthly power to heavenly, from the royal to the divine. England is like another Garden of Eden, halfway towards being a paradise, an earthly paradise, not Eden itself and not quite paradise, but rather a mixture of the earthly and the divine. Nature has built England as a fortress. The fact that England stands islanded apart from the mainland makes it like a fortress to withstand invasion or attack, with the sea washing England's shores, acting much as a moat does around a castle. Say England's island status protects it against infection and the hand of war, rather overlooks the various outbreaks of plague which England had been subjected to. A brief glimpse of people, this happy breed of men, suggests a distinctive identity in this little world, again separate, discreet, entire of itself. And then there is a zoom from the little to this precious stone set in the silver sea, a brooch, a ring, a jewel. John of Gaunt then goes on to analyze England's advantages in terms of might and defense. These come down to its island status, as being a precious stone set in the silver sea, standing apart from the mainland of Europe. This speech is embedded in many people's minds as a song to England as a great nation, and certainly John of Gaunt comes out with a string of memorable epithets to describe England here. But the context of the speech is very different. John of Gaunt is dying and lamenting the death of England. These words of Gaunt's refer to England's involvement in the Crusades. And land is how Gaunt sees England now, as a plot of land that is being leased out like a tenement or a pelting farm. When King Richard II arrives shortly after Gaunt has delivered this speech, John of Gaunt calls out the king for surrounding himself with flatterers and allowing the once great nation of England to go to ruin. So what appear to be words praising England's greatness are, in fact, elegiac. John of Gaunt fears that England is no longer great, and in saying this, he prophesies the civil war to follow. Gaunt's words are not spoken as one who loves England, but fears it is being destroyed by a bad, weak ruler.